Orale Rasta, G Funky Boxing of HCP. It's Monday night, so you know what that means. It's HCP is War Uncensored. We'll be right back after this. Don't you dare go anywhere.
You're now listening to Hispanics Causing Panic, baby. Let's do this.
But right now, Hispanics are causing panic. Right now, Hispanics are causing panic. Yeah, you know, Hispanics are causing panic.
All right, let's get this party started. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host D-Style Boxing of D-Style Boxing here on YouTube. What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Hey, I am chilling like a villain. I'm ready to get the show started.
That's right. And we also have another guest in the house tonight. A killer of lions is in the house. What's
Indeed.
going on, Lion Killer?
Nothing much, man. Just chilling, man. Relaxing.
El matador de los leones.
I had to add the world breaker back there too. I can't leave behind what I started, though.
I see. Well, I'm glad to have you here, man. Make sure you guys all subscribe to the Lion Killer podcast here on YouTube. I'm gonna say what's up to the familia that's here early. Thomas Jones, Nando Yamas, Boxer Girl, HLD, JC. And I love, man, the guys are punctual, man. 83, A-Rod 83 Bucksale. Make sure you subscribe to that channel right here on YouTube. Chicano Prophet in the house as well. And yeah, it looks like that's about it for right now. People will start to roll in, let us know that they're in the chat. But we had a tremendous weekend. Russ the Barber's here as well. What's going on, man? Glad that you're here live. Good weekend. I felt like the card lived up to the hype. I feel like the card lived up to the money, you know. Even though we had a last-minute replacement in Dennis Ugas, we got an upset and could possibly be the upset of the year, you know. We still got about 4 months left in the year, so I think it could rank up there as far as upset of the year. But the card was pretty good, man. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of big names, the two old guys fought on the co-feature. That fight was actually decent. You know, I know there's a lot of people that said they didn't enjoy it. I didn't think it was too bad. But overall, I felt like it was a good pay-per-view, man. What do you guys think?
Unfortunately for me, I was in Vegas, but I didn't get to go to the fight because the PBC played around with my credentials. So, yeah, I was supposed to be press, and I was promised upon high that I would have a press pass. And so while I heard about the fight from Roger Romo. I was on the phone with Roger Romo when I was at the top of the Stratosphere Tower. So that's how I found out who won. Then I watched the fight later on. So I haven't even watched the whole card. So I did watch the main event. It's a good fight. I thought Ugas pulled it out. I thought Ugas connected a lot more. I just thought he was he just looked like the fresher, younger fighter.
I agree. Alexis L in the house, Cholo Boxing as well. Thank you guys for being here. D-Style, man, did you think the card was worth it, man? Do you think it lived up to the $74.99 that it costs in HD? Oh, you're mute, brother. You're on mute.
Look, that's a tough question, just because, like, there's been fights on FS1 that were, you could argue, probably better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been cards on ESPN. I never, like, when I look at a price tag, at least with boxing anyway. And maybe we shouldn't even be thinking this way, but to me, I just see it as you're paying to watch a star fighter fight. It's not really about the card. You're not paying for the card. The card is just like there because they have to kind of give you a card. But I will say this: it's definitely, it's not saying much, but it's definitely an upgrade to what we're used to on boxing undercards for sure.
There we go.
We're used to trash ever since. It wasn't always like this. Don King used to stack the undercards like crazy, but for a while, I mean, let's be honest, nobody took it serious. You know what I mean?
Yep. Sounds like we got the bat phone going off in the back there. They're getting a call. But it's all good, man. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the undercard real quickly here. We had a good fight in D-Style. You might have to help me with the Filipino's name. I cannot remember his last name, but he fought Ceja. Anybody in the chat can, if you can help us out. I cannot remember the guy's name, but
Go look at me. You know? Lion Killer's the one that knows how to pronounce it, like, right?
What? I don't know who fought, so I didn't watch it.
It was a good fight, man. Fireworks early. I believe Ceja gets dropped with a left hook in the first round. Here we go. Let's see.
I got to watch homeless people fight a lot in Vegas.
Magsayo was his name against Ceja. Magsayo lands a nice short left hook early on, puts Ceja on the seat of his pants. Looked more like a I guess you could say a flash knockdown. He didn't look too hurt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Gets up and he starts to pour on the pressure himself. Starts coming forward, starts with a relentless body attack to Magsayo's body. He ends up dropping him a few rounds later. He gets up, decides to move around and box a little bit, do some pot shotting from the outside. Ceja was pouring it on really good, though. And then out of nowhere, boom, he gets hit with a vicious right hand. And he's out from the first one. And he's just kind of leaning there, going down. And then, boom, gets hit with another one. Little bit of a scary knockout. He got up after about a good 30 to 40 seconds. And then they said he went back down, was able to walk out of the ring barely on his own power.
Oh, so he got shellacked.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he got shellacked.
He got took to the hospital and
NyQuil
examined
treatment.
him. Yeah, examined him. Everything turned out good. Thank God, that he's good and okay. But this is classic Ceja, man. He did the same thing against Rigondeaux. Put a lot of heat on Rigo. Was able to hang in there with Rigo. Actually, was probably ahead on some people's card, and then boom, gets hit with a left hand, and it was good night there as well. So, what did you think of that fight, D-Style? Were you impressed with that fight?
Good fight. I mean, I think it was a great fight. I felt like Ceja was on his way to, like get like an upset victory there for a minute. Like, hey, Ceja might do this, but every time you feel that way about Ceja, he gets knocked out. I don't want to say it's only happened twice, but that I know of. I do remember thinking to myself, like, man, he might pull off a victory against Rigo here, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah,
and then of course. Magsayo, did I get that right?
Yes.
The Manny Pacquiao dude. I think he's with MP Promotions.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Great win. However, hey, what's going to happen when you hit somebody and they don't go down? That's my question.
Yeah, we have a chat here from El Gallo, and he says that Navarrete will smoke Magsayo. Dude, that's a fantastic fight at 126 pounds.
He ain't ready for Navarrete.
Nah, it would be a good fight. I don't know if he'd beat Navarrete, but it would be a hell of a fight.
But Navarrete's at 126, so wasn't this at 122?
I thought this was 126. I could be wrong, though.
Okay. All right.
He said Ceja was up on points. Yes, I believe he was actually up on the official scorecards. Rusta Barber here says that body attack it definitely was working for Ceja. He just couldn't close, man. Just like the same thing with Rigondeaux. he could not close the deal on that one. It looked like he was getting to Rigo. But back to the drawing board again for Ceja, and he also says it was at 126, so that would be a tremendous fight. Navarrete versus Magsayo. The boxing historian is here, the GOAT as well. These are big time supporters of HCP. Gary Russell Jr. one punch KO Magsayo after schooling him. However, yeah.
I would like to see him against Ruben Villa. I think that's a better matchup at the moment than Navarrete. I would favor Ruben Villa though.
About this.
Yeah, watch the highlights, bro. Shit. It's a good fight, man.
He did that Jesus punch.
So I think Ruben Villa. I would favor Ruben Villa in that fight, but it is a good fight. I think he should do that before like Navarrete, in my opinion. But then again, is Top Rank going to work with MP Promotions, or aren't they beefing right now, like Pacquiao and Arum?
That's another tremendous question right there, man. Who knows who gets along in this promotion?
That's the problem with boxing. There's always like that moment where like, wait a minute, those promoters don't like each other.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's move on to the co-feature now, so we can all three of us talk about the main event, which is the main dish of the night, obviously. But we had a couple of viejos in the ring. Vicious Victor Ortiz versus Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Goes 10 rounds, and the Ghost gets a unanimous decision against Vicious Victor Ortiz, the thespian, That's just a funny word to say, a thespian, but he really is, I'm not joking around.
So someone was acting. Yes. Someone was acting in the ring.
Yes.
Guerrero or
no, I believe he was in a couple of movies. Victor Ortiz.
Oh, Victor he was.
So yeah. So that's why I was saying the thespian. I just like to throw that word around when I connect it to him. It's pretty funny, but the fight was actually good. Both guys came out. I feel like they were both in tremendous shape, considering where they're at in their careers and where they're at as far as their age goes. And I felt like both guys really tried to win this fight. No guy was just going in there to lay down and collect a check. And I felt like they did the best that they could. In my opinion, Victor Ortiz there should have been a point taken away from him. He was continuously using his head on the inside. He was warned about it, but a point was never taken. But he did it the entire fight. And I believe that's what really swelled up Guerrero's eye, was him leaning in and, dipping his head into his face. Ortiz did suffer a cut over his, I believe it was his right eye. And the fight was a good fight, man. A lot of good inside fighting. I did feel like Ortiz, got outworked. That's the way I saw it. And I felt like Guerrero was the clear winner. The judges saw it that way as well. D-Style, what did you think, man?
So somebody doesn't want to hear the wrath of Uncle Ruben. That's what that is. But no. You know what, though? I do. I agree with you. I was watching the fight. I forget which commentator kept making it seem like Ortiz was winning. And I was kind of like, okay, I could see it that way, but I don't see why that. Was it Goosen? I forget who it was. They were like talking in such a confident manner. like if it was clearly winning, and I just didn't agree with that. Robert Guerrero was landing some really good body shots on the inside, right? And he just outworked them, like you said. I agree. He just outworked them. He smothered his shots. Now, I will say there was some times where at distance, Robert landed some good left hands, and I was wondering why he didn't create more distance, because I felt like, you might be onto something there, Robert, but I guess he wanted to stuff the punches of Ortiz, and he felt more comfortable on the inside and for what it's worth. Was it the fight of the year? No, but was it a terrible fight like people were saying? No, it wasn't. And you know what happens sometimes is when people go in like with already a negative attitude with the fight, and I'm not saying people shouldn't have had a negative attitude, or I was looking forward to the fight, but that's me. But I just looked at it for what it was, and it was just two, over the hill guys, but they're both over the hill. So it made it interesting to me. And I felt it was a good fight. I think if that was in two other guys, if that was a prospect and a journeyman, and there were like two contenders in there, and it's the exact same fight, people would sing a different tune, in my opinion. Would have said, "Oh, look at all the punches they're throwing; they were going at it." But since people had a negative feel towards the fight, they didn't want to give the guys any credit for the work they put in. Why? Because people don't like to be wrong.
Ortiz looking old is kind of sad because he's missed so many years of a career. Him coming back in, he's had his troubles. So honestly, it's hard to think of anything he done after the Floyd fight. In retrospect,
he got beat up by Berto in the rematch. He had a draw with Alexander. I mean, that's about it. In a fight that many felt Alexander won, but
hey, and he went on to be a thespian, So
yes, I am a thespian, sir. Pull my finger.
Sure.
Now that's acting.
One more point here. I do hope, however, if they want to continue fighting, that they stay at this level. I think any top 15, maybe even top 20 welterweight will really hurt these guys. So they need to stay away. I really hope they don't feed them to hey, Thurman's coming back, and they're going to put him in the ring with Ortiz, or I just hope they keep him away from, especially the young guys, man. I don't want to see Victor Ortiz versus Virgil Ortiz. Don't do that.
That would
just,
be
we don't need
that. That'd be a dissection.
Exactly. And I don't want to see a Keith Thurman in his comeback fight off of 2 years going against the Ghost Guerrero. Let me tell you something, Theo Ruben. Just say chale, Holmes, all right, to that offer. But I want to address Fotex here with a $1 super chat. I appreciate the support, man. HLD says Guerrero looked like my drunk Tio Pedro. And this would be an interesting fight here. A-Rod suggests Guerrero versus Josecito Lopez. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that'd be a good fight too. I feel like Lopez is a little bit fresher, but you just never know, man. Good fight though, I think. For the winner Guerrero to move on. But
I just think if Robert can retire, I would prefer that. But I'm not going to tell him what to do. He's a grown ass man, but I would like to see him retire.
And just beware, man. Ruben is lurking in the shadows. I just know it, man. He might show up today. He might show up tomorrow. We don't know, man. With that Vato, but
let's be honest. Let's be honest. He's not going to contend for a title again.
No,
let's be honest about that. You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
So.
But I can guarantee you that Vato Loco is over there partying right now in Vegas after the big win over Victor Ortiz. So
so it was a decision win. It was a decision win.
Yeah, it went 10 rounds and he won unanimously. So let's move on to the main event. We had the legend Manny Pacquiao coming off of a 2-year layoff, comes into the ring against a stand-in for Earl Spence, or Dennis Ugas, who was the super WBA champion at 147 pounds. A lot of people called him a paper champion, which is what we say around here when a guy just gets handed a belt,
ain't paper no more.
Putting that thing in a ring. But exactly, he took that paper and threw it in the trash can. He said, "I'm the real legit thing," after he upsets Manny Pacquiao Saturday night. So, Lion Kill, I want to ask you, man. I don't know if you scored the fight or not, but if you did, share your scorecard with us and let us know your thoughts on the fight, man.
I rarely score fights. I just see what I see. Pacquiao's energy. It's kind of like what me and Nate had prognosticated on the show. We said for Manny Pacquiao to win, he needs to get started very early. He probably has a 3 to 5 round window to establish dominance. For Ugas to win the fight, he needed to dedicate to the body and establish the jab. And that's kind of what happened. Both keys to victory, one guy took that key to victory. I felt the body punches that I saw slowed down Pacquiao later in the rounds. But the real key punch that I saw over and over redundantly was that long hook behind the guard. that kept catching Pacquiao. Pacquiao never saw that punch coming, and it really did discombobulate him. Sometimes he'd get a straight left down the pipe, but that right hook over behind the guard was phenomenal, and there was no adjustment for it whatsoever. And I never thought that Pacquiao in his corner were ever great adjusters personally, but this was a grade F as far as adjustment. He should have been able to adjust to that, to see that coming at the very least, and he never did.
Very true. And that's been his Achilles heel pretty much his whole entire career, is straight right hands. He's a southpaw. We know that that's the best punch to throw against a southpaw, but yeah, you can't miss him if you got a good right hand. You just can't. D-Style, give us your scorecard and what you thought of the fight, man.
So my score was actually 115, 113 Ugas. However, when I watched that 9th round, I did give it to Ugas, but I mean that's not here nor there. I had him winning regardless. So that was a very close round. And then I also feel round 11 was very, very close. I give that one to Pacquiao, but you could give that to Ugas. So with that said, I don't see how anyone can possibly have Manny winning more than 5 rounds. It's impossible. I don't see it. You know what I mean? You would have to force the issue. But I could see Ugas winning up to 8 or 9 rounds. You know what I mean? That's the type of fight it was. There was some swing rounds, but with the swing rounds in effect, no more than 5 for Manny, up to 8 or 9 for Ugas. That's the type of fight I saw. You know, I felt like Manny was doing good early, you know, but I wasn't confident in what he was doing, though. Like, he never caught Ugas with that big shot, that straight left that snapped his head back, or something to discourage Ugas. You know, nothing really happened. If anything, I think he felt the size. I think he felt his presence. And I think it's fair to say Manny's always had issues with big welterweights, which is understandable. But the jab, let me start off with the jab. Nothing happens without the jab. That jab was stiff. It was landing. It was he did not get discouraged by the jab. You know, Manny was having a hard time with that stick, like a hard time. All right. And he, you know, couldn't deal with it. You know, I mean, that's really what it is. Now, somebody said age beat Manny. I mean, look, I guess it's kind of the same thing with Rigondeaux. Look, like people were saying, well, one of them's here, but oh, he's old. Like let me tell you something, man. Like if you're participating in boxing, you know, it's you get judged like everybody else. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. Well, look, is Manny in his prime? We all knew he was not in his prime coming into this fight, but he's still a top welterweight in the world. Like we knew that. You know what I mean? But my question is that what beat him? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if a Manny 5 years ago beat Ugas. I'm not sure about that. I think the style, maybe it's a closer fight. You know, maybe it's, you know, a draw or something like that. I don't know. But there's no way for us to know, right? Like, we'll never know. So all I could do is judge what we saw on Saturday. What I saw on Saturday was Manny Pacquiao getting hit with that slight looping right. Okay, he couldn't really anticipate it very well. Okay, he was having a hard time with it. Even when he finally started blocking it, Ugas would just follow up with the jab, okay, or go to the body. And Manny, it got to a point where he stifled him. And you never want to be stifled as a fighter, where you're hesitant and you're thinking too much, you know. And a fighter like Manny needs to get in a rhythm. And that's another thing about the jab, right? Goosen was annoying the shit out of me when Ugas would land a nice, beautiful jab, and then Goosen would, like, instead of criticizing Manny who got hit with it, he would criticize Ugas because he didn't follow up, right?
It was an absolute
my
joke.
problem with that, well, let me finish up. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. My problem with that is I get that maybe he's not following up as much as you want, Goosen. I get that. And maybe he would have beaten Manny more decisive if he did. But the fact that Manny didn't know when Ugas was going to follow up with that jab is what made his right hand more unpredictable. It's why he was landing it at a high percentage, at least a much higher percentage than Manny will land in any of his punches. Right? You can't, if you throw something back after you land a jab every time, you're going to give a fighter like Manny the ability to time you. So he was mixing it up a little bit, right? And he was throwing the right at the right time. All right. So I just wanted to throw it out there. So also the jab is not just a setup punch. It also against a fighter like Pacquiao, you throw their rhythm off.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing he was accomplishing, and it's still a punch, especially the way he was throwing it. Those were stiff jabs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way he wasn't just like touching Manny. Like, no, he was landing stiff jab. They were popping his head back. So put respect on that jab. Finally.
Well, you know, one of the things that you pointed out as you were talking was Dan Goosen. When Nate and I went live this morning, somebody had mentioned in the chat that Damian Lillard had spoke about the biased commentary.
I got it right here. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll read it real quickly. And you know, I don't always agree with Damian Lillard when it comes to his boxing takes, but this one I agree 100%. He said Ugas fighting his ass off, and they're trying to convince viewers that he is not winning this fight. And I'm a fan of both. Shaking my head. I agree 100%, man. They were really doing a spin job out there. I want to address the super chat real quickly as well. The Don with the 4.99 says HCP is war. Salute to all my Dons. Ugas dominated the fight 9 rounds to 3. Ooh, 9 rounds to 3 on his card. I can see that for sure, man. Go ahead, Lion Killer.
Well, I also want to bring up the fact, as a comparative, the What If. You know, right now I'm loving the What If series on Disney Plus because I used to read that as a kid. What if Errol Spence hadn't have injured his eye? What if Errol Spence, who probably has a better jab than Ugas at a higher rate of production in a round, had established that same jab and worked the body the same way Ugas did? Now he doesn't have the wide-ranging hook that Ugas has, so that wouldn't have been a part of it. Might have thrown uppercuts. I wondered this after I saw the fight. Wow. I was watching Ugas jab, watching him work Manny over. I could only see a much more brutal fight had Spence done it. And yeah, people like to say, yeah, well, Spence has come forward. Yeah, he's come forward, but he's a guy that's the second least hit person in the welterweight division, whether people understand that or not. Sometimes having high production offense is a great defense. And so, yeah, Manny's a guy that'll jump in, throw combos. But if he's slowed down by body shots, and then like D-Style said, a methodical jab, how would that fight have played out with a guy that probably throws twice as many punches in a round than Ugas does, at the very least?
Yeah, it's a tremendous question, and unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to get the real answer to that because I don't think Pacquiao is going to fight. If he comes back, there's no way he's going to fight Spence. He'd be absolutely crazy to fight any of the guys at the top right now. But I want to give my piece real quickly. Nando Llamas with a 4.99 as well. It says HCP with the peace signs. Appreciate the support, man. I want to say this, man. You know, and I want to. Yoni here said earlier that timing beats speed. Absolutely, 100%. I agree with that. Also, I want to give you guys a quick history lesson here, man. I remember back in my day, all right, about 20 years ago when I was a young buck, all right, watching boxing. I remember Shane Mosley moving up to 147 and beating some guys. He beat Rivera, goes on to beat Oscar De La Hoya, become the welterweight champion of the world. Has a couple tune-up fights after that, and then he gets in there with a guy who beat him in the amateurs by the name of Vernon the Viper Forrest. And he got in the ring with Forrest, and Forrest absolutely dominates him that night. And it was a shock to a lot of us because Mosley was looking tremendous at 147 pounds. He was almost looking unbeatable at 147 pounds at that time. And the Viper handled him very well. And Shane Mosley was a speedster back then. You guys want to talk about some speed? You go back and look at Shane Mosley at 147 pounds. The guy was super fast back then.
Look at him at 35.
Yeah. And the one thing that I stuck out in my head back then, Vernon Forrest said this to the in the post-fight interview. He said, I want to say something to all you young fighters out there. If you go into the ring with a guy with tremendous speed, just use your jab. That's all you got to do. Use your jab, and you'll nullify that speed every time. And that's exactly what I think Ugas did here. Because even Pacquiao being 42 years old, I still feel like his hands were still quicker than Ugas's. You know, he's got very fast hands, but he was
Yeah.
able to nullify that speed by shooting that long and hard, stiff jab out there in his face from round 1 to round 12.
Now
And then
this
he
is
mixed in the go ahead, go ahead.
my bad, bro. This is so, as you said, that this is something that Nate pointed out this morning. Him and Ugas were sparring partners. He said Ugas used to give him fits. And Nate, yeah, we all know Nate could punch. Nate said he punched Ugas pretty damn hard in sparring to keep him off of him. He just took the punch. He says Ugas has a chin. So when Manny landed, it looked like he was eating those punches and kept coming forward.
Yeah.
It just shows kind of a toughness that this man has, and he just keeps coming. He said when he hit Ugas, Nate, I'm talking about Nate. When Nate said he hit Ugas, Ugas said like that, and just he kind of grit his teeth and came forward. So, you know, if that's the type of mentality, the type of fortitude that Ugas carries into a fight, he just has an indomitable will. You know, he's not going to let you know that he's hurt. He's going to keep coming. That's a champion. You know, that's a champion's mentality.
That's a great point. Yeah, he kept coming forward. Never once showed any signs of being hurt or anything like that. But you're right about that right hand. You know, a lot of people who are in the chat right now like to throw shots at one Robert Garcia for saying he doesn't tell his fighters to adjust or make adjustments during fights. Well, we have not seen that from Freddie Roach either. All right, let's just keep it 100. Okay, they've been trying to get him out of the way of right hands ever since the second Marquez fight. All right, because that was when people were starting to question, like, okay, can he really beat Marquez? Because that was a controversial fight. Now, I remember going into that third fight, they had like a thing where they had both guys in there, and they were saying, well, how do you get him out of the way of those right hands? And then they said, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Well, that never happened because he was landing plenty of right hands in that third fight and then knocked the shit out of him in the fourth fight with the right hand. Same thing here with Ugas. That right hand was landing all night long. The only slight adjustment I see Manny make to it was that he had no choice but to keep that thing up there in the later half of the fight. He had to keep that left hand close to his cheek and to his face because he was looping it around. And then Ugas started to shoot it straight. After he's like, okay, you're going to leave your hand right there. Now I'm going to shoot it straight instead of giving it that little curve at the end. And he continued to tattoo him with that right hand after. Yeah, it was just, again, one of those fights where I don't think Pacquiao would ever beat Ugas. I just think it's a stylistic nightmare for him.
Well, you know, I feel like Marquez beat Pacquiao 4 times. 3. I felt that he was winning the fights. The ones that he lost his decisions over, and then he got the one he just knocked the kid out. But that's me. Some styles are horrific for some fighters, and vice versa. And we gotta realize this. It's the game. You're not gonna win, especially if you're fighting without trying to carefully matchmake a fighter. And I have to commend Pacquiao for fighting at this age, fighting high level opponents. I give him his credit, but at the end of the day, you got to give Ugas all his credit. You got to give him all his credit. Somebody,
and that's
in the chat
why
said,
I'm not going to allow these guys to come in here and say, "Oh, well, Manny was old." You guys weren't saying that before the fight. You same guys, remember, we were very confident about Pacquiao winning this fight against Ugas, and now all of a sudden he's old. Like, come on, man, just give him his credit. He went in there with a great game plan. By the way, shout out to Ismael Salas, who was in his corner. They had a tremendous game plan against Manny Pacquiao, and they worked it. They executed it to the T. Give him some credit, man. You know, but I couldn't just saying, "Oh, well, he was just old. That's why he won." And 5 years ago he beats him. Honestly, I don't think so, man. I really don't think so. I think if these guys were both 35 years old, I think Ugas beats him then too.
So there's no way to know. I mean, it's fair to say that Manny was better 5 years ago than now, but there is a point to the right hand. I just want to say this about the right hand, though. I mean, you could really say that about almost any southpaw, that they get hit with right hands more than any other punch. It's just a natural.
Yes.
That's just the way it works. But I do want to make sure I say this. Like, it was only guys that used the right hand at a high level that gave Manny problems. It's not like they just stood in front of him and if you just throw a right hand, it lands on Manny. It's not quite how it works. They have to set it up. You know, Marquez was a master at setting up that trap and having Manny run into it. And Ugas was doing things at a very high level to land the right hand. It wasn't just, it's not that he was just throwing it and that's it. He was setting it up. And a lot of it came with the jab. It came even with his hook, right? Body shots. I mean, he had to, like, there's a lot that goes into it, right? So I just want to make sure I kind of point that out, that yes, guys with really good right hands gave Manny problems, but they set it up at a very high level. So with that said, look, even if you think Manny would have beat Ugas 5 years ago, you can't deny it would have been a tough fight for Manny. You know what I mean? It would have been a tough fight. Yeah. He would have set up that right hand. And there's one thing a lot of people kind of overlooked, and maybe it's because we haven't seen Ugas. A lot of us have only seen Ugas fight 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we kind of judge them based on that. And, you know, styles make fights. And one thing I wanted to touch on is this. For all we know, Ugas is probably just a tougher matchup for Manny than Errol Spence. Because Errol Spence is a left-hand dominant fighter. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to criticize Manny for having problems with guys who are right-hand dominant and set up right hands, Manny dominates guys that are left-hand dominant. Okay. Now, there were mostly orthodox, right? Like hookers, like Cotto, De La Hoya was a hooker, like, you know, stuff like that. But there's Spence was going to have to, it was going to have to be baptism by fire to beat Manny, because he doesn't have a straight right or a looping right, any type of right, because he's fighting from a southpaw position. So I was favoring Spence to win, but I'm going to be honest with you right now. I thought it was going to be a tougher fight for Spence than what I saw on Saturday. Like, I think Ugas, you know, did his thing better than I think Spence would have done. That's not saying that I would favor Ugas against Spence, right? I'm not saying that at all. But I just think styles make fights, you know, and so just wanted to point that out.
Let me get this super chatter from Mike Carnal. A-Rod 83 Boxhead with a $5 super chat says FTP Father Time. Manny lost to the better man this Saturday. Puro pinche HCP. Why is that so hard for some guys to say? Like, I don't understand it. Look, I know Manny, you guys love Manny. Look, that's fine. But I just feel like you're not giving the other man credit for the win. Okay, because nobody was talking about, oh, he's so old before the fight, man.
Yeah, but I mean, he is 42. Like, it's okay if they say that, G-Funk. He's 42, bro. That's old, bro.
But I'm not hearing. What I'm not hearing with it is look, man. Ugas deserves credit for the win. You know, I felt Manny got old. I just think, nah, he's old. That's all. You know, like,
he definitely deserves credit, because even an old 42-year-old Manny still beats 99% of welterweights out there. You know what I mean? So, of course, Ugas gets credit. He should get credit.
That Ugas, not arguably, in my opinion, he beat Sean Porter. To me, he got fucked out that fight.
It did.
Yes.
Ugas clearly, in my mind and with my eyes, with my know-how, won that fight. This kid's not a pushover. Sean Porter is not an easy fight because of the type of style he has for any fighter. I've probably seen one person handle Sean Porter. It was that Kell Brook, if I can remember correctly, that really just handled Sean Porter. Nobody else has.
Yeah, he's really the only one. Yeah,
and Ugas won that fight, and so yeah, give the guy his credit. Yeah, yes. Somebody said he's almost 40 now. He's 35. That's not almost 40. 37, 38 is almost 40.
like me.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that.
So,
but look, guys, I want to address you guys in the chat. Like, I see some guys getting fired up, and I love that. That's why this
yeah.
is uncensored. In the second hour, you guys will have your opportunity to come on here and talk with us about it. If you feel like you want to combat anything that I'm saying or any of the co-hosts are saying, that will be your opportunity to do it. Okay.
And by the way, let me just say this: like another guy that fought at a very late age was Bernard Hopkins.
Yes.
You know, but let's be honest, like Hopkins always had like
Dirtiest player in the game.
Hopkins wasn't that old when I mean, well, look, the dude was old since he beat Trinidad. I mean, he was like 36 at that time. At that time, they said he was old, but like when he lost to Jermaine Taylor, right? It was the style. Like he had trouble with Jermaine's speed. This was a young Jermaine Taylor. You know, he was fast, the speed, the footwork, everything. He was having trouble with that. When he lost to Shad Dawson later on, it wasn't like it was the style. Because guess what? When he fought like even though Pacquiao beat Dawson, like you know, he was able to beat a certain style of guy even at a later age. So I think it was Yuchi Funky said earlier, like if they match him up right, Manny could still win fights. Like there is guys out there that I believe can maybe beat Ugas. Maybe like maybe Manny has a better shot at beating than Ugas. It's just the style. You know, that's all it is.
I think
and that's what Hopkins would do. He would like lose to Dawson, but then Pacquiao beat Dawson, and boom, he would swoop. Like you know, like okay, this was a perfect. Yeah, he's a perfect style for me. Yeah. Oh, I lost to Jermaine Taylor. Fuck. Oh, wait a minute. Did Pavlik just beat Taylor? Okay, and then guess what? He beat the shit out of him. You know, and this is how you know. Look, everyone was saying Hopkins was past it when he fought Calzaghe. He was having trouble with the hand speed, right? But then what happened right after that? He beat the shit out of Pavlik. Like, you know, like it's just about style. So
yep. It's a style.
The only thing I'll say is this. Of course, we all know Manny Pacquiao was older. He's up there in age. We all get that. Okay. But two things. One, he's not your typical 42-year-old. That's number one. And number two, all right. I'm going to say we don't know. We don't know if Manny 5 years ago beats Ugas. We don't know. And you know what? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter because the fight didn't happen 5 years ago.
It happened yesterday. It happened Saturday.
43 years old, he's a fighter. He walked into the ring to fight. And yeah, we that's
what I said about Ringendow. I said he ran, and she fucking said he was old, and he gave him a pass.
I didn't even watch that damn fight.
I said I didn't like the way he fought either, man.
Ringendow's probably 68, but still.
He said he's old. It's okay because he's old, he said.
Ringendow looked like he saw the Cuban Revolution.
I don't know, man. I don't know how much Ringendow played D-Funky, but I want some of that cut, and then I'll defend him to the moon, too, you know?
Oh, that's funny stuff. He was there at the Revolution.
He said I was shucking coconuts.
Yeah, like somebody just said 5 years ago, Ugas wasn't relevant. Ugas was a subpar dude at 140, and then he realized, you know what? I'm weight training myself, and he moved up. And look, he got better because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, that's proof to you guys out there that weight training yourself to be the big guy doesn't necessarily mean that's an advantage. Okay, look at Ugas. He got better when he actually moved up to his actual weight class.
And guys, there's nothing wrong with getting better and improving your skill. That's what evolution is.
That's what we're supposed to do in life. You know, we're not supposed to stay stagnant, you know? But
I hate when people refer to somebody that was sorry years ago and then they want to blame them for getting better some type of way.
Right. I want to ask the question now that I have in the title of this live stream. The first question is Manny Pacquiao done? And I'm going to be the first to answer it. I'm going to say no. I don't think he's done. Like I said, I still think he has tremendous speed. You know, he still has good footwork. I just feel like, again, style-wise, this was a nightmare for him in Ugas. Not only that, Ugas invested to the body early, which I think had an impact on him slowing down late in the fight as well. But I think that if they match Manny Pacquiao right with the right guy, I think he can still get the job done. And the guy that I think he could get the job done against, and I think he can win this fight pretty easily and pretty impressively, in my opinion, and go off right into the sunset with a W and retire, is this guy right here.
Never been a lame-o, never been a lame-o.
Yeah, I agree with that.
As long as he doesn't play that song, and as long as Manny doesn't sing like every time we touch, as long as they don't do that.
Yeah, Danny Garcia
Okay.
there, he there like a fire hydrant to
Yo,
be
let me
hit.
tell you
I mean, he
something.
was
Manny has field days with hookers. Field days. I'm just being honest. And no, Jinky. I'm not saying he's out with the hookers. Okay, I'm talking about hookers. Jinky said, "But
Not
well, what the
Maurice
hell are they
Hooker,
saying?
a hooker.
Why do they keep saying that you go with hookers? Like well, like I don't want to get into trouble. You know what I mean?"
I'm gonna put the question in the chat, but D Style, what do you think, man? Is he done?
Manny Pacquiao. First of all, I find it strange that he's running for president because while he may be old for a boxer, he's not old. He's young for a politician. Like 42 is very young, like to be running for president, like in my opinion. But I don't know. I don't know Filipino politics like that, so I don't know.
Well,
Right?
the president now is a killer. So the president had now Duarte is a fucking bona fide killer. So I don't know Manny's prospects in the political arena with that guy. If that guy has reached his term limits or not, that's dangerous.
Well, look, just to. I don't know if Manny's done or not. Like as far as his decision to stay or not, only he knows, right? But do I think he's done? Like okay, that dude's washed up. He needs to get out of the sport. I don't. You know what I mean? Like Manny Pacquiao is still, to me, honestly, he's still a top 6, top 7 welterweight in the planet. And I'll take it a step further. Like to be honest with you, bro, campaign at 140. Like
he could.
Like why give guy like I think he would be better at 140. I just do.
Less resistance. He has less resistance at 40.
Well, look, I just think give it a shot. Him against Taylor for undisputed at 140. What do you got to lose, man? You got nothing to lose. If you win that fight, you're undisputed at 140. You add that feather to your cap and you retire.
And I think that could be a win for him as well. I want to address this comment here. It says nobody's saying Manny was completely done, but he's not the same. I didn't think he was the same after he beat Thurman. That's just my opinion. I felt like Thurman, that fight was fucking razor thin. The only thing that won the fight for me on my scorecard was the knockdown. Exactly.
Yeah.
The knockdown in that round where he hurt Thurman to the body.
Because Thurman was winning that round, but he hurt him to the body badly.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, that fight is weird to me because it dropped Thurman's stock in my eyes, but it kept Manny's stock about even to a little bit higher. So, to me, Thurman always says he's this, and that, and he showed that he wasn't.
Exactly.
And I've always said that Porter, Garcia, Danny Garcia, and Keith Thurman were kind of like the bridge between the top welterweights. Now they still are. They're the gap year of college, and I never touted them like a lot of people have. They were just the guys that were there. They really make up the base of the welterweight division as far as the top tier. You can't put Manny in there with a Boots Ennis or a Virgil Ortiz because no matter how skilled Manny is, I just think the youth and the aggression would overwhelm him. Size too. Ennis is 5'10", 5'11". Ortiz is what 5'11", 6 foot, something like that, right?
I mean, don't forget that Manny for a long time, like all his welterweight fights were against small welterweights.
Right.
Like,
also, he benefited from a highly selective career matchmaking wise, and anybody that disputes that doesn't know this game. So, I can't knock his career. He has a Hall of Fame career. Anything he does is butter on top.
Yep.
It just really is. I can't knock him for losing this fight. He's a guy that's fighting top tier competition when guys that are in their prime are not. So you can't knock him, but you got to give Ugas all his credit.
All the credit. He deserves all the credit. The Don with another 199 says, to me, Father Time caught up with Manny the Legend. I think it caught up with him in the last fight against Thurman. And that was something that was inside of my brain when I was breaking down the fight. Like that's things you have to consider. Like I always look at the previous fight for both fighters.
2017, he fought Jeff Horn, and that was what, 4 years ago?
Yeah, and he
Now,
looked like he should have retired.
I felt he won the fight, but I had it very close. I had like 7 rounds to 5, and with a couple swing rounds in there. And it was the size was. It wasn't because Horn is this super like
No
fucking
skill.
skilled dude,
No
but
skills.
he was. But well, actually, I'm not gonna say he's not skilled, but he's not skilled at that level. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's levels to it,
You
obviously.
mean no
but-
skill?
well, no,
roughed
because
Manny up
I
that
don't.
night.
Let me
roughed
tell you
him
something.
nice.
I respect fighters of all levels,
Right. I got you.
but not as skilled as the highest level, which is extremely fucking skilled. You know what I
Right.
mean? But and he was landing right hands on Manny too, by the way, and that was like 4 years ago, guys. And
Yeah.
the size played a big factor in that fight. It wasn't the skill that gave Manny problems; it was the size.
size,
You know what I mean?
yes.
That's what it is.
Right now, the poll, I'm getting ready to take it down because I'm going to ask the next question in the title of the live here. But right now, we have 61% saying Manny is done to 39% saying no.
Oh, come on. What do you mean, guys?
Man,
Like,
they guys are rough on Manny out there, man.
Let me give my
Jeez.
opinion on Manny and his
Sure, go ahead.
retirement. I think Manny does need to stop because he could take one fight too many. Okay. And then he can't sign those presidential orders if he wins. He'll be a little tired. And really, I have seen a regression in Manny Pacquiao. Luckily, he is fighting in a welterweight era where these guys don't fight nearly as frequently, so they are less skilled, they are less practiced in their sport. And people they don't realize that most of these guys are fighting once a year. You know, when's the last time you seen one of these guys that are top welterweights fight twice a year, 3 times a year? This is a guy who has 70 fights, okay, versus guys who think they're about to retire with 30 fights. What, Errol Spence doesn't have 30 fights yet, if I recall. Who else? Most of these guys don't have 30 fights. They don't have 35 fights. Terrence Crawford's the only one, and he's not coming over.
Yep.
So
now I can finally agree with this guy here. Where he says Manny is done at the elite pound for pound level. I could agree with that, but I still think he can get himself a couple of wins and ride off into the sunset. Now that's the way I would go out.
By the way, he's 42. Like, there's a dude saying he's 43. Like, they're adding that extra year. I see you guys. That's what you guys do.
Yeah. His birthday is a month after mine. He's a year older than me. So
yep, there it is.
A year and a month. So
so now I want to switch it up to the next question in the live title here and say, Ugas with this win, is he top 3 now at welterweight? Lion Killer, I'll let you go first, and I'm gonna put the poll in the chat right now.
He beat the money man. On that, you got to put him there. Also, none of the top guys that are at welterweight have fought Manny Pacquiao. Okay, but Ugas, the guy that should have fought him, but due to injury, is out of there. And so, do you keep Errol Spence in the top 3? In my opinion, you don't. He's on the IR list. So you put Ugas there, you put Terrence Crawford there, and you move somebody up. I've never been sold on Thurman, Porter, or any of the guys that these promotions try to push. I said that Boots Ennis or Ortiz could probably beat those 3 guys that I talked about right now. Honestly, Ennis would fare well against Ugas. I don't know if he beats him or not, but against Thurman, against Garcia and Porter, I think Ennis has nearly as many fights as they do, but not at the same level, but his skill set is there. Ortiz will physically just plow through people. He has to be more defensive minded, though, in my opinion. But the 2 guys coming up next are ready. And I'm trying to rank him, but Ugas is top 3. He's a champion. He beat the man he beat the money man. He beat the big money man fight. So you got to put him there. And Spence is on the IR list as far as I'm concerned.
Manny is indeed still the money man at the welterweight division. I mean, that place was sold out. I didn't see one empty seat. You know, we're talking Vegas here. You know, we're not talking about Errol Spence fighting in his hometown. You know, obviously we know he's going to do good numbers in his hometown. This is Vegas though. It's different. You know, I don't think that Porter fight and Spence fight, I don't think that sold out the Staples Center. It was a good crowd though, you know, really good crowd. But he's definitely still the money guy. We have yet to hear of the pay-per-view numbers from this fight as well. But I agree with you, Lion Killer. Manny is still the money guy at 130. Got a couple of super chats here from Retro Boxing and Documentaries. Make sure you subscribe to that channel right there. Great channel. Does great documentaries. D-Style Boxing here was on one of those documentaries with the great Salvador Sanchez. Make sure you guys subscribe to Blood Boxing.
And Blood needs to call
Retro.
me, man. I've been trying to reach that cat.
You hear that, Blood? We need to make a phone call.
We need to talk tonight, bro. We got stuff to really talk about. No joke.
The Don with another 199 says my top 3: Virgil. Oh man, yeah, a lot of people excited about Virgil, including myself.
Just to get it right, Virgil. Come on, you're a wrestling fan, G Funky. Come on, G Funky.
Do y'all notice Virgil came out of the gym that I was one of the original, if not the original, right behind original youth coming out of that gym, the Urban Police Athletic League. So shout outs to the Urban Police Athletic League alumni. Virgil came out of that program. I came out of that program. So many others have come out of that program. So it took a lot of kids.
Yeah, we have a POW league here as well, where the great Diego Chico Corrales came out of. Rest in peace. D-Style, what do you think, man? Ugas, is he top 3 now after the big win Saturday night?
Yes. Like, how is he not top 3? He's one of the title holders. He's a WBA super champion, right? The only 2 other title holders that matter anyway. I don't count Intrum and all that other dumb shit. Yeah. All the Intercontinental U.S. title. I don't give a fuck about all that.
The Coast Weight Championship shit.
Yeah, so but you have Ugas, Spence, Crawford. Those are the 3 champions. Ugas has a win over Manny Pacquiao, who, like, unless you didn't have him top 3, but if you did, I mean, Ugas has to take that spot. You know, I agree with you guys that I feel he should have a win over Porter. I think he won just as many rounds against Porter than he did against Pacquiao, and somehow Porter won that fight. You know, that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? And Porter's over there trying to tell people, like, I beat him. I know how to beat him. No, you don't know how to beat him. The judges beat him. Okay, but you didn't beat him. Okay, but and there's a reason he knew about that looping right, because motherfucker, he was catching you with it too. But I will say this though. Does that mean I would favor him against a Virgil Ortiz, or like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but you know, we don't do rankings based on what we think would happen. We base it on what has happened. That's how rankings work. And right now, Ugas is top 3 based on that.
Yeah, he's got 2 impressive wins, man. One, I mean, I agree with you guys. He beat Porter. That was a clear win.
One more thing before I forget. So I know people are concerned about Manny's health and his well-being, and I'm not saying people shouldn't be, but let me tell you something. There's guys that had a couple of fights and end up paralyzed for life, and there's guys that had 100 fights like Chavez, and they're doing commentary.
Yeah, he's completely fine.
Well, whatever happens, it's going to happen.
Some are alcoholics.
Yeah.
You know. Well, my point is that there's just some fighters that can, for whatever reason, there's no explanation. There's no like LaMotta being able to still walk around and talk is like unbelievable, given the fact that the dude was in wars all the time. It's like, how
100 years old.
What? Yeah, I'm like, what? You're like just talking and walking like nothing happened, bro. He's bloody and bruised all the time. And Chavez was, I mean, this is a guy over 100 fights. You just never know, really. I mean, it's just one of those things.
An old boxer told me one time that every fighter has a number. They have a number of hits that they can take. You may reach that number. You might not reach that number. Some people reach it a lot quicker than others. It's just the way it is, you know. Right. Somebody like a Jake LaMotta who took fucking rocket blasts from fighters, and the way he was just built like that. And to be 100 years old, yeah, he is still alive. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Is he still alive right now? For
I
real?
think he's still alive. Let me
I think
double
he is
check.
too. I think he is too.
God
Um,
damn.
He got to be 100 years old. So
right now, Ugas is in the poll. We have him at 75% say yes, he's top 3 to 25% that says no.
he died 17, bro. At
Okay.
96.
Damn.
Wow. What a life
Hey,
to live,
he
man.
lived a long life, man.
Yeah. I want to say this,
Crazy.
man. I think Ugas is definitely top 3. No doubt about it. Now, I seen HLD's list. He left Spence out of the top 3 because he's, champion of recess is what he said. I think Spence will be back, and that's why I'm going to keep him in the top 3.
Yeah, but bro,
I
it's
think
a
I'm gonna keep
detached
him
retina
back.
though.
I don't think he should
Yeah.
come back personally. Listen,
I don't think so either, but I think he will.
Once they say that eye's fucked off, let it go.
Like I think he's gonna come back, but the question is, if he's gone for over a year, do we rank him?
I mean, this is a kid that got hurled out of a Lamborghini at a high rate of speed. The
That
fact
too,
is,
right.
he got a second chance at life. Quit while you're ahead. I'm a competitor. I know he's a competitor. But at the end of the day, there's a greater competition called life. You got kids, you got a lot of things. Detached retina surgery is almost never successful in boxing. It's not successful in any sport that I can think of. You can play pool with one eye, but you can't play fucking boxing. That's how I see it.
Well, Leonard did come back and fought Hagler, but I mean,
But
that
He
was
had
like
fights,
8 years later or
but
some shit.
it wasn't the same Sugar Ray, though we did see flashes,
I mean, he beat
Blanchett
Hagler though,
was
G-Funky. You know
yeah.
what I'm talking
I
about? Like, he pulled it off.
felt Hagler won that fight, but it was a close fight. Very good fight. Russell Barber here says, "Who's the real champ, Ugas or Jamal James? Is James is the interim, and Ugas is the super champion at 147 pounds, the legit super champion now that he beat Manny Pacquiao."
To be fair, boxing history says Terry Norris, Mildred Taylor, and James Toney. James Toney, to be fair, always spoke this way. I don't remember a time where he didn't. Mildred Taylor was the saddest out of those 3 you just mentioned, because he had a commentary career waiting for him before all that happened. And
he can't even speak now. Like it's really bad. Shout out to Mildred Taylor.
I think it got worse because like they let him keep fighting.
Right. And he
was fighting. He was fighting up to the point where they were doing the legendary nights with him and Chavez. Like that's unfucking believable, man. Any commission would give that guy a license to fight.
Criminal,
man, terrible. But I'm gonna say this about Ugas again. Yes, I definitely think he's top 3, and I think he's a legit problem for any of these guys at 147 pounds. Any of them. And again, that doesn't mean he beats them all, but I give him a damn good shot. Because he. If you want to put Porter in there, top 3, which I've seen a few guys put Porter in the top 3, I feel he clearly won that fight. He clearly beat Manny Pacquiao, who was the money guy. The only thing left to do is get a Terrence Crawford in the ring or an Earl Spence, and then there's no doubt about who the best welterweight is at that point.
But guys, this is the thing: we need the parity in the division. This is what I love about 154. You can't call it.
Yeah,
you can't call 154 welterweight. You can call it all day, every day for the most part. The division needs parity. That's why I don't even like talking about the division in most cases. Ugas has now went through the glass ceiling that they have at welterweight, and now you gotta deal with them. And so let's see what happens. I love the parity.
Yeah. Shout out to Black and Brown Boxing with the HCP fire emojis. Subscribe to Black and Brown if you are not. Subscribe to Black and Brown. I want to say this. We're into the second hour now, and we're getting ready to open up to the audience that's watching. And shout out to the audience that is on listening on Audio Boom, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all those good places where you can find podcasts. We're there. Thank you for listening. We got to pay some bills here. All right. You guys know we have an official sponsor here at HCP. So I'm going to go ahead and let them take over for a few seconds, and we'll be right back for HCP Uncensored.
I am the underdog, misjudged and overlooked. Some say I don't belong. I shouldn't be here. I can't keep up. I won't last. I'm not good enough, not well connected. I haven't paid my dues. But guess what? I don't care. I won't listen. can't stop. I won't stop. I refuse. I know what is within me, even if you can't see it. I have more passion than skill. I have more grit than finesse. I am unafraid to fail. I am all these things, and I am more. I dream. I believe. I hustle. I struggle. I grind. I succeed. And I repeat these steps every day. It's my process. I am the creative. So, who are you?
Shout out to Loyal Roots, the official sponsor of HCP. Right now, they got these online. If you just go to loyalroots.com, you'll see these are just mesh hoop shorts here with the San Francisco Giants and Oakland A's colors. The Battle of the Bay was this weekend. And of course, you know, the best team in Major League Baseball won that
or
series.
Green Bay
again.
Packers. You could say it's the Green
All
Bay
right.
Packers. You know?
But he has other colors as well. And, you know, go to loyalroots.com. Check that stuff out. So let's go ahead and get, I'm going to put the email at the bottom here for anybody that's ready to hop on and talk with HCP right now about anything we touched on here in the first hour. While we're waiting for a guest to come on, I want to talk about the other topic that I had in the title. Teofimo Lopez, we finally got a date and a venue for his mandatory fight against George Kambosos for the IBF title. It's going to be in the little room at Madison Square Garden.
The theater.
October 5th is the date. And check this out. The pay-per-view is $20.
They're going to win.
Unbelievable. I'm definitely buying it. I was going to buy it anyway because I buy all these fights.
I'm just buy it on principle because it's $20.
$20. I mean, geez, that's a new precedent in boxing right now. You know, I just paid $75 for Manny Pacquiao versus Ugas. I definitely paid $20 for that fight. And I guess if you have the app, I think it's only like $9. I think
I beat you. I spent a lot of money and didn't even get to go into the fight. So I went there. That's shit.
I'm sure you had a blast, man. I'm dying to go to Vegas as soon as the pandemic is over, man.
I drink a 40-ounce margarita, bro. So
yeah, they have them too.
Yeah.
D-Style, what do you think, man? We finally got Teofimo back in the ring, October 5th in the theater. All right, at Madison Square Garden, $20 on pay-per-view, man. What are your thoughts?
First of all, I like the theater. I like the setup, like the lights on top. I always enjoyed like Boxing After Dark gives me flashbacks of that. So shout out to the theater, and maybe one day we will see Teofimo in the big house, you know, and maybe it's Andrew Zayas and Berlanga and those guys over there.
Ooh, that would
Madison Square Garden at some point. Look, this is the fight that just doesn't end. It just reminds me of that song, like, this is the fight that doesn't end. You know what I mean? Like, I just need this fight out of the way. It's holding up the division. It's holding up Teofimo's career. It's holding up, like, even Kambosos. Like, can we all just move on? Like, I just need the fight to happen already, because it's. I get that it's an IBF mandatory. He's got to do it, but like, my God, they postponed it one time. And then, he got COVID, and then the whole Australia thing came about, and there were dispute of that. And now, from my understanding, they sent a contract to both fighters. I don't know if they both signed it or not, though. It's official, or is it boxing official?
I believe it is official. I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, because there's boxing official stuff, and there's like official. You know what I mean? But look, I'm looking forward to the fight. I do think Kambosos is a solid fighter. Not quite as good as Teofimo. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's going to surprise some people winning some rounds. I think Teofimo wins it with a mid or late round stoppage, but Kambosos is game. But man, I need this fight out of the way.
Yes, definitely. Lion Killer, what do you think, man? $20, Teofimo versus Kambosos in the theater at Madison Square Garden, New York City.
$20 or $20. Shit, I'm in. I mean, you got to look at it for what it is. in an age where everything is inflated, in this time everything's inflated, $20 is a lifesaver for a lot of guys who love this sport. There are a lot of fights just on principle. I won't pay $75, $100 for it. You'll get streamed because, for one, I don't respect what a lot of these guys do. I support this sport in so many ways, but to rob fans, like D-Style was saying earlier, a subpar undercard. We grew up in the era where undercards was thick as the forest, man. Don King stacked and stacked and stacked. You'd have 6 world title fights on one card. We don't have that anymore. So yeah, $20 is revenge porn to me. I'd buy it just cause. And I hope everybody out there buys it because it's $20.
Yep. You should.
Maybe I'm an asshole, but that's what I'm just keeping it.
No,
real.
you know what? You should. If you want to see pay-per-view prices lowered, you will support pay-per-views like this. Pay the $20. Show them, look, we're not buying that shit for $80. All right, your little $200K and all that shit, trying to say a guy is a pay-per-view star because he sold $200K. I guarantee you, if that pay-per-view was $20, it sells a lot more than 200,000 buys. I can almost guarantee that. But you want to jack up the price $80, then you know what? A lot of people aren't going to buy it. So support good shit like this, man. Boxing's finally doing something good for once. They're giving us a fight, which, again, I don't think it should be on pay-per-view, but the fact that it is and that they're only giving it to us for $20, hey, why not? I mean, I remember I used to buy the Royal Rumble back in like 92. It was like $24, I think, back then. So this is even cheaper than that,
But, what's crazy? I remember my dad buying what was it? Hagler Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like $50, 40 or 50. That was worth 40 or 50 fucking dollars in the 80s. It's probably $200 now. But I got an entire card. I got an entire fight. Listen, it's a great marketing strategy because it brings people who would normally not watch boxing to the fray, in my opinion, that are walking around, that are not streamers, that are not adept at that. Teofimo doesn't have the name recognition outside the boxing world, but maybe this could be a boon for him to have that recognition with such a cheap. All I got to do $20 for a pay-per-view. Boom, it can happen.
Yeah,
it can happen.
I agree, and I think it's a decent fight. Me, guys. You guys have been subscribed to me a long time. Only the super fights were on pay-per-view back in my day.
Exactly.
This is not a super fight, okay?
No.
So of course I'm going to say no. It shouldn't be on pay-per-view, but it is $20. Fine, I'll buy it for $20. I do think I agree with D-Style. I think Kambosos will be competitive for a little bit, but I just feel like Teofimo's is just too sharp, too good of a counterpuncher for this guy. He's going to find his openings because Kambosos likes to let his hands go. He's going to have opportunities in there. And we've seen Teofimo stop guys with one shot or badly hurt him with one shot and then finish him up very shortly after that. I think that will be Kambosos' fate in this fight. I think Tony Boswell in the chat said by the 8th round, Teofimo should win. I agree with that. I'm going to say somewhere around 8, 9 rounds, it'll happen. Mr. Sinister in the house, what's going on, man? That's what I think, man. And like D-Style said, let's move on to bigger and better things. I understand Kambosos earned his shot as a mandatory in the IBF. So you know what? Hey, he's going to get his opportunity. But let's just get him out the way so we can see these other fights. I'm not happy with a Loma rematch. I don't want to see that again. But that sounds like that's probably what's going to happen.
I don't think Loma want to see Loma. Shit.
Yeah. But
so I wanted to
at 135. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to because I don't want to let Skip Bayless and then Rafael off the hook.
Yes.
So
yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So let me read this tweet to everybody. I have Manny narrowly winning this fight. Ugas wins narrowly. I thought Manny would win in the judge's eyes because he threw more punches, all caps, 800 to 400. Skip Bayless, that's not how you score boxing. If that was the case, motherfucker would just be throwing. They'll just be shadow boxing and shit like the whole time.
Skip
Okay,
Bayless.
they'll just shadow box in front of their opponent. That's what they would do. Skip Bayless. Don't you understand? Skip Bayless, do not talk boxing, please. Do me a favor. I don't want you to watch boxing. Don't cover boxing. Don't talk about it on your shows. Don't talk about it on Undisputed. Don't talk about it with Shannon Sharp. Don't talk about it on Fox Sports. If you go to ESPN, I don't want you to talk about it. I don't ever want you to talk boxing. Please do me a favor. I don't care if you're a big name or if he talks about it, it gives boxing more publicity. I don't give a shit. Please do not talk boxing. Why? Because if just 10% of people that follow Skip Bayless follow this logic, they're going to start believing that the more punches you throw means that's how you win fights. Okay? This is how shit starts. This is why people come up with weird, dumb shit. Okay? That's why people still say shit like, who would you rather be? Yeah, that's some dumb shit that Max Kellerman said. Okay? Max Kellerman said that, and now people just say it. They'll be like, hey, you know what I ask myself every time in a round? I ask myself, who would I rather be? That's not how you score boxing, okay? Boxing not scored on who you would rather be or who do you think, felt like what or who threw more punches. That's not how you score boxing. Don Rafael had Pacquiao winning by the 11th round.
Sandwiches.
Pacquiao didn't even need round 12 to win. According to Dan Rafael. According to Dan Rafael, the fight, it was a wrap, round 11.
Yeah.
But at the end of round 11, he said, that's it. If Manny is on his feet, he wins the fight.
Right? You know why? You know why, bro? Because Dan started eating a sub sandwich at round 11. The fucking fight stopped.
I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. To be honest with you, because you could have ate a sub sandwich. And by the way, there's a judge. I don't know how. There is a judge that gave Manny Pacquiao round 10. I don't know how that is possible. If anybody gave Manny Pacquiao round 10, please come on. Please explain to me how you gave him round 10. I want to know. Tweet me, email me, something. Explain it to me. Judges need to be at post-fight press conferences. Even though, I think it was the her, but I think it was that judge. But whatever judge it was, although they have the right person winning, we should be able to ask them, how did you have him winning round 10? How did you do that? And then you gave Ugas round 11, which you could give him round 11. But if he wins round 10, he has to win round 11 as well. Like round 11 was a clear Ugas round.
Yeah.
This is, I don't even know what to say sometimes. So I just wanted to say that we need to be able to question these judges. They should be able to take questions, just like the fighters do. Manny Pacquiao had to take punches. Ugas had to take punches, right? And they still got to go up to the podium and take questions. Why can't these judges take questions?
The most athletic thing Skip Bayless ever did was a Sadie Hawkins dance. He has the fucking boxing knowledge of an armless, legless drag queen. Fuck him. I mean, you can't. He's an idiot. And believe me, I'm from Dallas, born and raised. I know a lot about Skip Bayless and what Skip Bayless do. So he's an armchair everything. Dan Rayfield, he steals people's byline stories and questions. That is Dan Rayfield. Dan Rayfield has never boxed. He's just watched and ate sub sandwiches. That's how I feel about the guy, because I've seen the guy. I've seen how he is. First got to the buffet. and real talk, it's not a fat joke, it's an actual fact joke. The guy he'll sit up in a press conference and literally ask the same question somebody else did. Lazy journalism. Okay, so I know he wasn't watching the fucking fight.
Manny Pacquiao won. He threw 800 punches. Ugas only threw 400. So he got to win. He threw more, bro. That's like saying like a team won the football game because they had more attempts at the end zone. Right. That's not how it works, bro.
Silly. And you know what else I think is silly?
He had more pass attempts. They won.
Over on the PBC side, they just started doing this recently, where they put the punches landed per guy in the corner where they have the time, the round, and all that stuff. And it's clear as shit that they just don't they don't do a good job at it, No. And again, it leads to people thinking, well, look at the punch count. Look, this guy should
manipulate people. That's all it is. All that shit is the commentary, everything is there to manipulate the fan. That's why I don't watch shit with commentary on.
Yep. Check this out. I noticed this. I rewatched the fight again this morning, and I seen at the end of round 1, Ugas landed about, in my opinion, about 4 or 5 punches on Pacquiao, and not one time did they give him credit for it in the little counter thing in the corner. Now check this out. Not one time did the number go up. I seen him land at least 4 jabs right there. At least.
You know that they try to score Olympics like that. It was the biggest disaster ever.
I remember.
Yeah.
Shit's trash.
Like you can't do that. You can't look. Boxing moves too fucking fast to have a do with a clicker. And the worst part is they don't go back and revise it. That's the worst part. And then you have shows like mainstream shows like you'll have like Stephen A. Smith cite the punch stats like, as if they're factual, like if the way they cite yards in the NFL or like field goal percentage in basketball, and it's not that type of stat. It's at best on a good day a rough estimate. Can you please go back and revise it, please? Can you have somebody go back and do the revise? But you know why they don't want to revise it? Because they don't want to show how flawed it is live.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they don't do it.
G-Funky, do you have footage of Stephen A. Smith throwing punches? Because that's quite comical.
Yeah, I definitely should have it, but I don't have it. But yeah, that's definitely terrible to see.
If you don't know a sport, you need to shut what they call the fuck up. That's just how I see it. You shouldn't be professionally lending an opinion to something you have total ignorance in. And that's what they do today because it is a sensationalist platform. ESPN is sensationalism. That's why I hardly watch the shit. You know?
Yeah, it's terrible, man. Their boxing coverage is so bad. I try to tell people all the time, look, don't listen to these guys on these talking heads on these big networks. They really have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to boxing. If you want to listen to them talk about other sports like the NBA and NFL, like sure, go ahead. I mean, I'm sure you'll get something out of that, but when it comes to boxing, no, it's just not happening. And the fact that this guy is tweeting out, "Oh, he threw more punches, he should win." Like
for what? So I could hear them talk about who's better in the month of November, like this athlete or this athlete. Like what the fuck? Like what November?
ESPN with their meaningless stats, or they'll do something for LeBron. Like
if LeBron has the best numbers in the last 3 minutes of the third quarter than any player in history.
He'll get a triple double. They'll do this on ESPN.
Who's LeBron the best James, lumberjack in the NFL?
LeBron James, the first guy to get a triple double on a Tuesday night while wearing purple shoes. You know, some shit like that. Like, give me a break, all right? Just full of nonsense over there.
Like, which baseball player is a chronic masturbator? Next on ESPN.
Yeah, those guys are full of it, man. But it doesn't look like anybody wants to jump on, man. I don't know. I don't know what's going on right. They were very, very vocal first hour when we were giving our thoughts on the fights this weekend. And you know, hey, don't be afraid. We ain't gonna bite your head off. You know, we'll stay on here for another 30 minutes or so, unless nobody jumps on. But I want to ask you guys about this that happened on the pay-per-view Saturday. We got a little bit of a soundbite from Caleb Plant, who is going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez for Undisputed early November. He says he's going to be the first guy to become undisputed at 168 pounds. Believe me. I think he's crazy. I mean, me personally, I think this is a huge step up in competition for Caleb Plant. Not that Plant's not good. I think he's very skilled. He can box and things like that. But he just hasn't been in there with anybody to push him at all. And look, I understand some guys will say things like, well, you don't know if you're elite until you get in there with elite competition. Yes, that can be true sometimes, right? And I know some people might be thinking like, well, G-Funky, you picked Teofimo to beat Loma, right? Well, for me, Teofimo already had a good couple of wins and tests prior to that. You know, beating Nakatani, that's not an easy fight. A 6 foot tall lightweight, tough as nails, you know. Then he goes in there against a guy like Richard Comey, you know, who's a dangerous fight, knocks him out in 2 rounds. I said to myself, this kid's ready for Lomachenko. Win or lose, he's ready to fight Lomachenko. And he beats Lomachenko, right? Where's that fight for Plant? For me to say, you know what? He's ready. Like, I just haven't seen it yet, man. And the fact that he's saying he's gonna be the first to do it, like you couldn't even unify with Benavidez. You're in the same division, same promotion. Like
Both of those guys haven't fought Benavidez, though. I think Benavidez is the man to fight at 68.
I
really
like
do.
Benavidez as well, but I just think it's kind of silly, for him to say something like that when you couldn't even unify first. You had to wait for Canelo to collect all the belts, and then then he comes looking for you. Like Plant, I don't think he has a shot. Really, I don't think he has a shot in this fight. D-Style, what do you think, man?
Well, let me say this. I mean, he's not going to say, "Oh, I'm going to lose," or he's like, you know what I mean? I'm not surprised that he's at least in the open saying he's going to beat Canelo. I mean, he's not going to say the opposite, right? That's not even what made me laugh. Like him saying I'm going to be the first undisputed. That's not what got me. What got me was the whole 2 years ago I told you that I was going to do this. And I get I was going to become undisputed and I was going to do everything possible. Like, motherfucker, you haven't done shit to be undisputed.
Right.
You've done nothing. You did not, and I don't want to hear all, but because Canelo can make the fights he wants. And no. Let me tell you something. You were on PBC and so was Benavidez. You never unified with him. You never fought him.
Never.
You two never unified. You never did your part to get us to undisputed faster. You never did anything. You never made any moves to get us to undisputed. You never did anything. So that's not here nor there to me. But yeah, go ahead.
If they had made that fight and he beat Benavidez, then I'd be like, okay, this is gonna be a good fight. Because we've seen him in there with a guy, big, tall, fast, throws a lot of punches, and he beat him. But the fact that fight didn't even happen, and again, they're both under PBC, that makes me question a lot of things. Now, Black and Brown here says Plant wins split decision. Remember who told you first? We'll definitely remember. And if you're not busy, I'd like for you to come on, man, and talk to us about it, man.
He had to assassinate the judges and put his own judges in there. Shit, that's not gonna happen. Listen,
what do you think, Lion Killer? Do you think he has a shot against Canelo, man?
I'll be honest with you. His skill set is something that could potentially be very problematic for Canelo Alvarez, but I just don't think he has the commitment and wherewithal to beat the guy. If he's depending on the decision, he fucked himself from the start. He has to go and knock that guy out. That's the only way I see him winning. The cards, listen, Canelo already has a fight by unanimous decision. And what 4 or 5 months they fight? When did they fight? November or something like that?
November, yeah.
Okay. Canelo by unanimous decision is already decided. That's how you have to go into a Canelo Alvarez fight. He's getting the benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways. Whether people agree with that or not, Caleb Plant has to beat that guy, knock him out. That's the mentality he has to have. If it's anything short of that, he loses. Period. Canelo.
So would you say that's the same way people got to think about when they fight the Charlo brothers, because they seem to always have that judge that scores a white for them too?
If that's how you want to think about it, same thing. I don't see the Charlo brothers having the same matter of fact that Canelo has had. I just don't. So, I mean, that's how you feel about it. That's how you feel about it.
Because I guess, to me,
but what do the Charlo brothers have to do with me? I'm talking about.
No, not what I'm saying is like, I don't agree that the judges are already in the bag for Canelo. In other words, the reason I'm bringing up the Charlo brothers is because if you take common opponents, like for example, Trout, like the judges, there was a judge that scored it pretty wide for the Charlo brothers as well, but nobody seems to point that out. It's only pointed out when it's Canelo. Like you know what I mean? And I get that in any sport, the star, LeBron probably doesn't get fouls called as much as your typical player, and maybe when Kobe was playing. I get all that. I get that the stars are going to have some special privileges, and they shouldn't. It should be a level playing field. Let me make that clear. But I mean, look, Canelo's going to be fighting on PBC side. I think it's just as likely that Canelo can edge it out and they give the decision to Plant, to be honest.
Canelo,
but it's on PBC.
Canelo brings a weight to the sport that is as people say, the face of the sport in a lot of people's eyes. Comparing the Charlos and judging to Canelo, I just don't see the comparison. A lot of people, not just me, not just there are a lot of people across the board that feel that Canelo has the decision in the bag going in because of that need to uphold a face in the sport. You have to knock this guy out to beat him. That's
Don't agree.
I know you don't agree, but that's where I stand. And that's just the way it is. I mean, and you my boy. This is where I'm at.
I just don't think.
agree.
I just don't think. I think it's just as likely that they screw over Canelo because it's on PBC. They did it to Fury in the first fight. Okay, against Wilder. We all know Fury clearly won that fight.
Fuck shit. I felt that was some fuck shit.
Yeah. So like that happened there, and then I think Castano got the short end. I think he clearly won that fight. Okay, he didn't like again, and we can all agree that Al is probably sees more dollar signs. That's what it comes out to with Charlo than Castano, right?
I think Canelo exceeds promotion, he exceeds sanctioning bodies. There are many interests in this man winning fights. I just feel you got to knock the guy out to beat him. I mean,
I feel the same way, man. I do.
Well, people were saying the same thing about Pacquiao, Ugas. Ugas got the fair shake.
I considered that as well. Like that's the main reason why I picked Pacquiao. Like I'm not ashamed to come on here and say I was wrong. I thought he was going to get the decision because I felt like he was going to get the benefit of the doubt from the judges because of volume, which is what the commentators were trying to paint that picture during the fight. Thank God the judges got it right though, because I
Skip
felt like
Bayless
was the winner. And Skip Bayless as well. But I felt that was going to happen to Ugas, and we've seen it happen to many Cuban fighters as well. And you guys know I've questioned Canelo's scorecards often here on my channel. Like, and it is what
like
it is,
Floyd
man.
versus
no,
Canelo.
but I just want to make sure my point isn't misunderstood. So
no, it's not, bro. It's not.
No.
So I think a lot of fighters get that judge that scored it wide, and there's not like a stigma connected to them saying, "Oh, well, you got to beat that dude by knockout." Like most outside of the Mayweather fight, which he clearly lost. Right outside of that fight, they're all debatable.
It's the way it was scored.
Every single one of them is a debatable fight.
Yeah.
The Don with the 199 says 8-4 Castaño. Never forget. I thought Castaño won the fight as well. I know Lion Killer feels the same way. So does D Style Boxing. I'm interested to see if we can get a run back of that fight. Very interesting fight, but I did feel Castaño won it clearly. And look, I want to say this about Plant as well. He also said this during that interview that, they asked him about his hand. He injured his hand in his last fight. He said, well, I'm good. Hand's good. I've been in the gym. I stay in the gym and things like that. Staying in the gym, like basically saying, I'm always ready. Yet, I think was it twice now we heard the excuse that he needed more time for the fight.
You're always ready, brother.
Who is this? I missed.
Caleb Plant during the same interview where he said, "Yeah, I stay ready. I stay in the gym." But yet, when the fight was offered to him the first time, he was like, "Well, I need more time." You know
what happens? These guys get belts and then they become pedestrians in the sport. They really do. They just get a belt and then they sit there. And all of a sudden, they've had 10 defenses in their mind, and they act accordingly. And again, going back to the top of the show, this is why Manny Pacquiao is able to compete at his age. I mean, not just fight, compete. He's competing, whether you like it or not. He was competing with Yordenis Ugas. It wasn't a blowout. Okay, these guys.
Ugas face shoulder,
yeah. These guys are on fuck shit. That's really what it is. You're fighting once a year. If you fight twice a year, that's insane now. I grew up in a time where champions fought 3 or 4 times a year. No joke.
Same for me. Yeah.
So again, Manny Pacquiao.
That's a long time ago.
I know. Shit, approaching 30 years ago now. It's really crazy. But Manny Pacquiao is where he's at because he's 62 and 8, 9? Something like that. Okay, you're talking about 70 plus fights. That mean that man fought multiple times a year throughout his career. So him fighting, coming back after 2 years, I can't be mad about that because hell, his opponents are 10, 15 years younger than him, and they're not fighting as much as he is.
Yeah,
So I see it.
it's an awful way that these new guys are moving these days. That's why I'm not mad at Canelo for what he's doing right now. He's staying active. He's going after all the belts. He's going after all the champions. I like that.
Yep.
Staying busy, staying sharp.
This
Chavez
is
did the same
why
thing,
it baffles me. Like, look, nobody liked. Okay, no one. I don't know one person. Maybe you guys know somebody. Okay, that loved the Yildirim fight. I don't know one person. Okay, like I think we all agree that Yildirim sucks. Okay,
he's fighting a sack of shit. That's what he was.
Okay, right, but here's the thing: he fought in December, he fought in February, he fought in May. He's gonna fight in November. That's 4 times.
Yep,
in one rolling year. Like, that's when it's okay if you fight a Yildirim.
Right, I agree with that.
The problem for me is the Plant fighting Figgin Butts, okay, and then he fight fucking Truax, and before Figgin Butts he fought the fucking Subway dude. That's 3 fights in 2 years, bro. And that's where you fought, bro.
Yeah. He's not ready for this fight, man. He's just not ready for that.
But I start to hear like people like, oh, Yildirim. Okay, well, what about the other fights? like just pretend Canelo didn't fight in February.
I don't remember having a problem with the Yildirim fight because of the frequency of the fights. It was my thing was, if you're gonna go between 68 and 75,
Yildirim
fight the most dangerous guy. Petreviev is who I want to see him fight. Not the other guy. I forget his name off the tip of my tongue.
Bivol.
Bivol. I wanted to see him fight Benavidez, but
good fight,
man. I'm not even gonna get into that. I'm really not gonna get in there because I feel a certain way, and I don't want to derail. So,
yeah, but you don't think if you had a crystal ball, you don't think the Benavidez fight's gonna happen?
I don't, bro. I really don't.
Because it's not like he could stall the dude. He's a lot younger than him.
Benavidez keeps fucking it off with what he does outside the ring.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but
yeah,
it sounds like he's getting his shit together, though.
Yeah.
I hope
he is. G with a $4.99 super chat. I appreciate the support, my brother. L-Dub here says, L-Dub says Yildirim just won by knockout over the weekend. Hey, shout out to Yildirim, man, getting the dub.
Hey, sometimes them 6-year-old kids, it ain't they day.
Man, did he just get his ass whooped a couple weeks ago?
I'm not sure, man, but hey, he's working his way back to a shot.
No, but like look, I would love to see the Beterbiev fight. Or Petreviev, however the hell that shit's pronounced.
Yeah.
Okay, Petreviev. Okay, I would love to see a fight.
My name is
Petreviev. You know, like. But here's the thing, though. But here's the thing. Like, that's you, Lion Killer, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
But then we have people that say, "Oh, he's like." I just saw a dude like a couple weeks ago, like, "Oh, he wants to fight. He's tailor made for the." So I don't want to see him fight someone that's tailor made for him. Beterbiev is just going to stand in front of him, and he doesn't move, and it's tailor-made for Canelo. Like, I just think a lot of people have different opinions about these dudes. But my issue is that none of these dudes are fighting each other. None of them. They're all waiting for the Canelo payday.
75 is a Dodge Fest too. I don't know what the fuck is going. The sport is fucked up, and that's how I feel.
It is. It is. I wish it was ran like other sports, man. We wouldn't have this issue, where there's a schedule, so we don't have a choice but to play these teams. We can't avoid them.
Y'all know what's crazy? When I was in Las Vegas Saturday, I drove around the city. I circumvented the whole city Saturday. I went to the Raiders Stadium, and then I drove out to the UFC headquarters. I was supposed to drive out to the UFC headquarters and try to meet with somebody to get a meeting with Dana White, with the purpose of trying to get a meeting with Dana White, I should say. But I fucked off the day, so I just drove Saturday to see where it was. So the next time I come back, the girlfriend was fine, dog.
Look, but I can't speak on that. I'm a married man. Maybe D-style.
Ain't nothing wrong with looking married, man. Shit,
bro. And she has all those friends, and like she like parties with him with all her friends and shit.
It's definitely beautiful. That's all I could say. But go
But
ahead,
real,
Lion Killer.
but real talk, I'm looking at the UFC. I'm looking at how they got their shit together. They got a headquarters. They got an arena in the headquarters. Then they got a warehouse next to it. And I'm looking at what's built, how it's centralized, and how things come together consistently. I'm not trying to tout MMA. What I'm touting is the order. I'm touting the consistency, the things that are missing in our sport that are really hurting us. Where we're talking about hypotheticals so much, we never get reality. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, but I guess I just think it's a circumstantial thing, though. Like, unfortunately, there's a lot of hands in the pot in boxing.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, what are we gonna do? Like, tell promoters to leave the sport and just leave one dude in charge? And who's the one in charge? And there's just a lot of factors there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talked about this about a year ago on my channel. I did a series called How to Fix Boxing, and we talked about promoters. Should we keep them? Should we do away with them? I mean, other sports don't have promoters, but athletes, individuals, they're able to market themselves well. I mean, with the help of networks as well. So I mean, I think there is a way, but that's a long conversation, and
it's a long conversation. But like I will say this though. I mean, now from a fan's point of view, the fans don't seem to care, and I get it, right? But I mean, the pay is not that good in the UFC.
No.
So like, and my thing is like, how long is this gonna last? Like,
but the fights are not that good in boxing.
No, I get that, Lion Killer, but like, is this thing gonna be a long term? By long term, I mean like boxing's been around for a century. Like, is this thing gonna last a century for the UFC?
It's already at a quarter century.
No, but the thing is, there's already moves to like there's already moves to like, as soon as like they get the same rights that boxers have, like you know what I mean, and they're not allowed to like do the things that they do. That no boxing promoter is allowed to have their own belt.
There's a federal class action lawsuit right now, that may decide that. It's just that's still going to be years from now, though.
Maybe. We don't know how long it's going to take.
Well, I'm talking about the lawsuit going to trial. It's probably another 2 or 3 years down the line. And if the fighters do win, then MMA becomes more like boxing. If they lose,
like, in other words, I don't think it's an inherent thing. Like, people talk about boxing like it's a company, like if it's Costco or something.
It's not. It's the
and it's not like we're screaming to the abyss when we say, "Why can't you be like UFC?" Like, who are we talking to?
Well, listen, you have federal and state rules to boxing, so there's a level of structure to it. There has to be more, but it's still loosey goosey. It's still anybody can come. Come to the fray.
Oh, we
don't think it's loosey goosey.
Whenever a dude's running around the ring like Rigondeaux, we need an engagement rule, will fix all our problems. Right?
I didn't see that fight. I heard enough about the fight to Rigo.
It was not a good fight.
And by the way, well said about, because I think there's one thing that Ugas was able to do in the Pacquiao fight. He was able to take Pacquiao's punch and not move, and he kept coming. And when you say, like Nate Campbell's like, yo, I would hit this dude, I'll crack this dude, and he just take it and keep coming. That is very unsettling. Like in the Thurman fight, he dropped him early, and that set up momentum for him. And even then, I thought it was close. He never had that moment to get momentum. I just wanted to say that really quick.
The guy eats your shots and just keeps coming
to you. It does something to you, man.
Hey,
just ask Roger Mayweather. That's the one thing that he said about Chavez in their fights. He was like, that motherfucker had a chin. I kept hitting him with my shit, and he just walked right through it.
Yeah, and Roger had power, but he didn't have a chin. God damn it.
Yeah,
did not have a chin.
It was that's a thing, man. I'm telling you. I remember hitting guys sparring and shit. I would think, okay, I'm gonna plant my feet here and I'm gonna hit this guy with something. You hit him with something and they're still there. You're like, You get that little thing in your head like, you know.
I like I like my chances of hitting somebody now at 250 pounds than when I was a bantamweight and growing up in a 119. Fighting over. Yeah, I could punch then, but damn it, I know I could punch now. So
Yeah, well, size
yeah,
makes a difference. I mean, unless
it
you're in the
does.
LDBC, it doesn't make a difference. We'll leave it at that.
By the way, I figured out what the bicep thing is. He put an egg weight in his bicep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He put an egg weight and it helped.
Bicep gate.
It helped him with that. That's why the jab was so stiff.
He put a kettlebell in his bicep, dog. Come on. Put a complete 20-pound kettlebell in it.
Well, guys, I put the email at the bottom to see if anybody wanted to join.
Right, man. They just love the show, bro. They just want to listen to the knowledge. You know what I mean? That's what it is. Or maybe Lion Killer's intimidating them.
I love to reach out to the audience, man, because we have such a good, loyal audience here. I want to give them the chance to come on and speak with us, man, whether they agree or disagree.
If it make y'all feel better, I am partially Hispanic, so feel free.
There you go. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. We're almost approaching the 2-hour mark. I want to let Lion Killer go ahead and give his final thoughts and go ahead and drop your info, man, where everybody can find you.
Well, you can find me anywhere, but generally you can find me on Lion Killer Podcast on YouTube and other outlets, mostly YouTube these days. Twitter, where else? I killed the Facebook, so you can't find me on Facebook anymore. But my final thoughts are this: support the sport, call out the good, celebrate the good, but definitely call out what's bad. Because if you don't call out what's bad, you can't make it better. And those are my thoughts.
There you go. Make sure you subscribe to the Lion Killer podcast right here on YouTube. All right. D-Style Boxing. What are your final thoughts, man?
Look, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for Hispanic Cause and Panic podcast. That's on my channel. I may have to go in a little earlier. I'm not sure yet, just because of some other stuff going on, but make sure you guys tune in for that. Wednesday, Power Punchers with Calix. That's at Calix Boxing. Make sure you subscribe to Maestro A and also subscribe to In the Ring with Christine. Okay, shout out to her doing her thing as well. And I want to make sure you guys support everybody, ATP, and subscribe to Lion Killer as well. He has a show with Nate Campbell. And that's all I got, man. Thanks for everybody tuned in.
That's right. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, don't forget. Go ahead.
The round table is going to be on Ringside Reporter this week. So Ringside Reporter, Joe Habib's channel. We're going to have the round table on Thursday.
We need to bring a round table to Lion Killer podcast. I never get in the rotation. I never think about it till just now.
So we'll talk about that.
We'll have to slide you in one time, man. And I want to say again to everybody that watched live, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're watching now or later, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and select all. This way, every time that I'm live or I drop a video, you just never know when I drop a video. But I am live every Monday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific for HCP is War. And my final thoughts are this. Look, I know a lot of you guys are upset at some of the things I said about Pacquiao. Like, I understand. I've been going back and forth with the Pacquiao fans here on YouTube for 10 years now. Okay. I
got called a racist the other day, bro.
Well, I've been called that a couple times too. But I'll say this. Look, yes, he lost a fight. He clearly lost it. There's no way anybody can try to spin it and make it seem like he won the fight. He clearly lost. But at the end of the day, look, he's wherever he's at, like it doesn't affect his legacy at all. He's still going to be in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, no doubt about it. Well, when we talk about greats from this era, you're going to have to put him up there. Some people argue he's already got a greater legacy than Mayweather. It's debatable.
I'm one of those.
It's debatable. And, I'll listen to both sides, because I feel like it is a good comparison now. And look, it's no hate on Pacquiao, nothing like that. It's just when G-Funk comes on, he's gonna give you that real deal fish scale. All right, like my man Rakim used to say back in the day. All right, and you know, that's the way it's always going to be here on HCP Uncensored, man. But shout out to Ugas, man. Dennis Ugas, you know, he's been through a lot in his life. There's a lot of things going on over there in Cuba right now. You know, and I hope nothing but the best for them on the island. Shout out to Raw Boxing TV, who's dealing with some stuff with that situation. But, you know, I really am happy for Ugas, man. He's been through a lot. He got robbed on the cards in his first big fight that he's had against Sean Porter. Now he vindicates himself with this win last Saturday night. So shout out to the WBA super champion at 147, Dennis Ugas. That's all we got for tonight, guys. Again, do the channel, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. This is gfunkyboxing, and we're out. We'll see you on the next one.
Shout out to Hispanics causing panics.
Shout out to Hispanics causing panics.
Hispanics causing panic. I'm glad to be here.
Hispanics are causing panic, baby. Let's do it.